Hey guys, good morning. So today we are going to be continuing the sessions on the companies. So आज हम करने वाले हैं on the NBFC space. So have taken three companies: Arman Financials, MSE Financials, and IIFL Finance. Right. So of course I'll be covering the companies in great detail. And if you want to say for example people come up to me and ask me I want to analyze an NBFC, what are the parameters to look. So when we are covering these companies, we ensure that we cover all those parameters, which you can of course note it down, and you can do that yourself when you are researching on your own. Okay, so all the parameters. So financials में parameters हम क्या क्या देखते हैं. So I'll give you a brief on this before I move on to the presentation. So first is we look at the loans. The loan book का the spread, like for example say मतलब companies कहाँ पे loans देते हैं, in which geographies do they give, what is the target customer base, and what is the breakup of the AUM. मतलब कहाँ पे loans दिया है, like microfinance segment, gold loan, car loan, personal loan. There are so many divisions, right, that a company can have. So first we have to understand where is the one particular institution giving the loans to, who are their customers. Then what we check is how is the loan book growing, right? Then we check how is the deposit book growing if it's a bank, and if it's an NBFC, we check the cost of borrowing and the sources of capital for that NBFC. Then we check, of course, the most important parameter, which is asset quality, and of course the GNPAs and the NNPAs and the collection efficiencies of that one particular financial. And then of course we look at the profitability metrics, right? We look at NIMs, we look at ROAs and the ROEs. So ultimately at the end of the day, whenever you're doing a financial, make sure that you understand at the end of all these analysis, if the ROA number or the ROE number keeps going down, that means आपका stock ऊपर नहीं जाएगा, the stock will not go up, right? So ROA or ROE are the two most critical parameters जो पूरे ये जो सारे जो checklist है वो culminate होके आता है on that ROE का number. So make sure that you understand this, right? And we are going to be covering this for each and every NBFC, each or every bank that we cover in the workshops. Okay, so when we are covering those points, just ensure that, again I'm reiterating, I know, but just ensure that you understand that those are the most important parameters that you can check when you can do an analysis on your own. Okay, so on that note, let me share my screen. Okay, so we'll start with Arman Financials as discussed. First, we'll have to focus where does Arman give its most money to? Now you can clearly see here that Arman gives most its money to the microfinance space. 83% of their total AUM is in microfinance. So microfinance is a space where they work in a JLG model. That means joint lending group model. So Arman gives mostly Arman makes money by giving loans to the group loans, by giving group loans to the women in the villages and in the semi-urban regions of this country. So Arman is basically a microfinance institution that doesn't target people in the cities, but they target mostly people in the rural areas and the semi-urban regions. So that is where they make the most money. Second is they also give MSME loans to the same category people. That means what? Say for example, you're in a village and you want to open a kirana store and you want to sell groceries. Okay, or let's say for example, you want to buy a cattle from where you want to collect milk and then you want to make money by selling milk, right? So Arman gives you loans. Arman gives you MSME loans for you to buy the cattle. Okay, and they also have a two-wheeler division which is 3-4% of their total book. But a majority of the money comes from giving loans to the microfinance people. Okay, so you can pause the video and you can clearly see one important thing I would like to tell you. Can you see that the average ticket size is always low here? So when you're dealing with people from the lowest strata of the economy, right, you cannot give high ticket items to them because these are the kind of people who don't have, who don't have any credit ratings, right? Most of these people won't even be allowed to take a loan from an SBI or an HDFC because इनका सब कच्चा bills होते हैं, right? इनका आप देखोगे कोई अपने personal account से काम करते हैं. इनका अगर आप देखोगे these are the kind of people who don't even have a source दिखाने के लिए कि ये लोग tax नहीं भरते हैं. उस तरह से अगर आप देखोगे तो mostly in the informal and the semi-formal space. So यहाँ पे you can't give high ticket size item. If you give high ticket size loans और यहाँ पे default हो जाता है, then you can go out of business. I'm talking from the financial perspective. So how do you negate this? You negate this by diversifying. So you go to different geographies, different states, and you give low tickets low ticket size amount to millions of people, and that's how they make money. So that's how the game actually is for micro, and not only for Arman, for any NBFCs who are catering to, let's say, in the microfinance space and the SME and the MSME segment. You will see, because see, you always know, okay, like there is always a high chance of default in every loan that you give, right? So say for example, if there is a high chance of default, but then you also know that you have given, let's say 35,000 rupees karke to millions of people, even if there are certain defaults, you can, as long as you make more money from the people who are, giving your, your money back with interest than the money you lose in defaults, you are okay, right? Because in banking and financials, you're always supposed to lose. There is no bank in the world or a financial in the world with a 0% NPA. Wo hota nahi hai. So, and then of course you see the yields here, right? Now, since they are taking so much risk, Arman is taking so much risk in giving, giving money to the semi-formal and the rural economy ke log, right? So they would of course want a higher yield. So can you see the yield here? If you just follow my cursor, you will see 22, 27, 30, 35% ka yield hai. So that's the point here, right? Ke like they get so much of an yield from an existing borrower ke agar koi default bhi kar jata hai to unko utna farak nahi padta hai. So that you can of course pause the video and you can like read the other important things here. I mean the tenure and everything. Now let's understand each of the segments in a bit more detail. This is the main part, microfinance loan, which is 83% of their book. I mean, again, you can pause the video and you can just read this. Look how all the numbers like the AUM, disbursal, PAT, ticket size, everything has gone up on a YOY basis. This shows that the microfinance, matlab, as a space, has come back up after COVID so well, and Arman has taken full advantage in this space. If you look at disbursals or if you look at PAT, look at PAT here from 18 to 67. So basically their PAT has gone up by 3.5 times, which is like stupendous, right? And then again, if you come to these key ratios, you see the net interest margin, the margin is 13.7%. So Arman raises capital at a higher at a higher rate, correct? Because of course you understand, right? Like Arman is considered to be more risky than, say, for example, say an HDFC bank or an SBI. Arman doesn't have a CASA franchise, right? So they will have to take money at a higher pace. So unka cost of borrowing bhi agar aap dekhoge, cost of borrowing means the rate at which Arman is raising money, that is 9, 10, 11, 12%. And the net interest margin is 11 to 13%. That means Arman is lending money at 25, 27%. I hope you understand this point. That's why you can see here the yield is 26, net interest margin is 13. So the cost of borrowing is between 10 to 12%. Okay. So again, like you can just pause the video and you can see this. This is the point I was trying to say. Okay, Arman mostly the microfinance lending data hai. So generally these are unsecured loans, right? That's why you give it to 10 women at one go. So that, so that if one woman defaults, she will lose her face in front of her, in front of her relatives and friends. So Arman us psychology mein play karta hai. I mean, not only Arman, but any microfinance companies in the world. Second is, see, so basically the difference between, say, for example, a bank will generally give a working capital loan to, let's say, a company, right? Okay, ठीक है, मतलब salaries देने में दिक्कत हो रहा है तो ये लो 2 महीने के लिए पैसा. But Arman and all, they are basically there for income generation for their borrowers. So say for example, अगर किसी को livestock या dairy, agri allied, किराना store खोलना है तो वो Arman से loan लेता है. Okay, let's move on. MSME loans, 13%. Can you see the yield is higher than the microfinance space? So that's why Arman in their con call said, okay, going forward, the percentage of the loan book towards MSME loans will be higher, right? आज जैसे है only 12-13% है, going forward they would want to take it to north of 20% because यहाँ पे yield भी higher है. And basically why this MSME loans is like, see, think about this. If let's say you're a microfinance customer, Arman has been giving you 30,000, 40,000 and all that, and then let's say your business starts evolving, correct? Let's say you open a kirana store and Arman gives you 40,000 rupees, and then let's say your kirana store takes off, right? Then of course you would want to open another kirana store, correct? So then what would that customer do? Arman, matlab any microfinance company who would say like, no, we won't give you more than 35,000, then that person will have to go to a bank, right? Because now he is getting bigger. So for that one particular customer to stay with Arman then has opened this whole MSME division as well as the individual loan division, right? So that then they can give, a repeat customer, I mean a repeat borrower, a high ticket size loan, let's say 70,000 rupees or let's say 1 lakh rupees, because he deserves that money, right? He has done well, he has proven himself. So why won't the same financial give more money to that same customer going forward so he or she can expand his business? So if Arman doesn't give that money to that customer, he will no longer be a customer of Arman. That is a negative for that company. So repeat business gaya. Second thing is like even if that person cannot go to a bank, right? So that means what? Uska business का growth नहीं आएगा. That is also bad for the economy in general, correct? So इस तरीके से आप देख सकते हो. So that's why the MSME division and the individual loan division, I think the individual loan division, which is, I think it's only 2 to 3%. Okay. Yeah. So now we have the two-wheeler and the rural two-wheeler loan book. Again, you can see the yield is pretty high, but this is a very small part of the book. But again, having said that, you can see the AUM or the disbursal hasn't gone up at that rate. Why? Because in India, if you see the two-wheeler segment has been really struggling for the last 4 or 5 years. And Arman has also said the same thing on the call. Now, very critical. Now that we know that Arman kahan paisa deta hai, where are the places where they give money. Now, the second thing that we need to know is that like, kahan pe hai country mein. So can you see they're only into 8 states, right? I remember when I first tracked this company, they were only into 4 or 5 states. Now they're into 8 states. They started from Gujarat actually, and they started scaling up in Maharashtra, MP, and recently they've gone into Bihar. So Bihar has been doing very well for Arman in the last 6-8 months. So that's why, and now again, having said that, look at the prospect here. India has around 30-31 states, right? Arman is only into 8 states. So in the next decade, if Arman can, let's say, double the number of state count and increase penetration in the existing states, just think of the book. Matlab, kahan pe ja sakta hai? Now coming back to the Q4 ka numbers. Look at the AUM ka growth, 58% on a YOY basis and to 1948 crore. Now this is what I'm trying to say, right? Say now if you just wear the hat of a visionary, right? Only 8 states and also not much of penetration in each state. If they can increase penetration and they can move on to 12, 13, 14 states in the future, right? East India or South India mein to hardly presence hai. Inka West mein or North mein jo hai, right? So think about this. This book can even be around 20,000 crore, the AUM ka book, and still Arman would be considered to be a small financial. I'll tell you, the book size of State Bank of India is around 23 lakh crores. 23 lakh crores. So Arman, even if they are 10x of the current book, they are still considered to be, they will still be considered to be a small drop in this huge ocean, right? So next, coming back to the PAT, can you see the PAT growth YOY is higher than AUM ka growth? It means that Arman has operating leverage as well. So when your PAT growth is more than sales growth, or when your PAT growth is more than your loan book ka growth, it shows that you're using your fixed capital wisely. That is what Arman is also doing. So that's another great solid thing. Look at disbursals. Disbursals have gone up 90% on a YOY basis. Disbursal is basically that the fresh money that you are giving out to your borrowers in that last particular quarter. So the fresh money that was given out in Q4FY23 is almost double of the money that they given out in Q4FY22. And then after all these great growth figures, you see that the asset quality has also improved for Arman, both on a YOY and a QOQ basis, right? So that is like amazing. And then, of course, you can clearly see here the best number is ROE. So just see what we have done here in the checklist. First we looked at the breakup of the loan book. Then we checked the geography, the kind of customers they are dealing with, the kind of yields that they are making, right? We looked at the NIMs, right? We looked at the cost of borrowing. And now we are looking at the profitability numbers. Like look at NIMs here. The NIM is 19.2% in Q4, which is amazing. And you can clearly see the yield, 33% ka yield. Matlab, I have never seen anybody giving loans at 33%. It's like 33% mein, if you give out 100 rupees ka loan, you will get back the interest of 100 rupees within the next 3 years. Actually, less than 3 years, actually, 2.5 years. So, and the ROE number is an outstanding 41% in Q4 and 32% in FY23. So let me tell you this very clearly. Okay, if let's say, for example, we have a bull market in India and FII money comes to India, FII money would want to chase companies like Arman. Why? Because they have growth and better asset quality. Of course, see, I wouldn't have been interested in this growth had Arman been a loss-making company or wouldn't have had ROE ka number, or let's say, for example, a bad asset quality, right? Tab main Arman ka baat hi nahi karta, maybe I wouldn't even have made a workshop on it. Okay, but the fact that they're improving their asset quality and can grow ROE, grow their AUM and PAT at such a great pace on such a small base, because ultimately liquidity will chase growth in the market, right? So you guys must have also seen, right, which stocks which have earnings momentum are at all-time high, right? जो stocks का earnings momentum है, वो bull market हो या bear market हो, they will be at all-time high. It doesn't matter किस type का market है और FII, because FII का एक भी पैसा आएगा या DII का एक भी रुपए जाएगा, वो इसी stocks को chase करेगा. So that's the point. Now, can you look at, so this is basically the performance of Arman in the last 4 to 5 quarters. You can just pause the video and check. Okay, like, okay, one thing I would like to say, in the last 3 quarters here, before Q4, Arman invested a lot of money in technology. So उनका एक LOS और LMS का system है, by which they moved on to a cashless system. So उनका sourcing of loan, disbursal of loan, collections of loan, they are trying to make this into a cashless thing. Okay, for that you need to invest in tech. As a result of which उनका AUM अगर आप देखोगे उनका AUM between Q1 and Q2 उतना नहीं बढ़ा था, and the management was very clear in that con call कि हम ये नहीं कर रहे हैं because temporarily we need to get our system straight. And now you see, once the entire digitization process is done, look at the boom in the AUM. Of course, having said that, you also need to understand for a financial, Q4 is the best quarter, right? Q1 is always the worst, then Q2, then Q3, and then Q4. So H2 or the second half of a fiscal is always better than H1, because H2 में you get the festive period and everything. और H1 में क्या होता है कि ऐसा एक dry spell जाता है. So you need to also take those things into consideration when you look at all these numbers. Again, look at the numbers. Look at the net interest margin going up. Look at the yield. The yield is now at 33%. So Arman has never seen this kind of yield in a quarter in the history of the business. Okay. And of course, look at the ROA and the ROE number. I mean, if you see that the ROE number just took a hit in the last 3 quarters, because now when will ROE number come down? When the equity base goes up, when let's say there's more investments in the business. So if you're investing more and more money, the equity base goes up, correct? And as a result of which the ROE number can come down, which is good because you're looking for the future. And then is quarter mein they can actually see the benefits of digitization in their business. Now, very critical to understand, because see, when I talk about Arman to people, the first reaction is like, oh, ये तो अगला कोई problem आएगा तो ये लुढ़क जाएगा, ठीक है? But this is what I would want you guys to see, that during demonetization and during COVID, look at this, the ROE number. If you look at the ROE number, it was never negative, right? Even during the depths of COVID also, Arman gave an ROE of 5.8%. That means what? Arman never suffered losses. And Arman ka book is strong enough. The collection efficiency is good enough for the company to not make losses even during demonetization or during COVID. So that shows the sustainability and the structural strength of the business. Although ऊपर से आपको Arman देखने को लगेगा कि like, वो ये तो बहुत ही risky institution है, right? Microfinance lending करता है, MSME lending करता है, and they say that the yield on their advances is not of 30%, right? तो हमें जाना ही नहीं है. Even I had the same thing with Arman going back, like even like 2-3 years back, right? And I think probably that's one of the reasons why I never invested in that stock. And actually I've seen Arman ka stock go up 5 to 6x. If you even look at Arman ka stock ka chart in the last 4-5 years, the stock ka chart has always been on the upward trend, even though we had demonetization and COVID. And now you know why, because fundamentally they never suffered. Of course, when demonetization came and COVID came, everybody had to like asset quality sabka buda hua, they had to provide more, and that's why when you do excess of provision, right, your ROE number comes down. But having said that, and look at the recovery as well, right? So these are the factors you need to check, and you need to, so the reason, as I said, like we have to look at businesses like Arman, like going forward there will be problems in the economy, but if there is a company that can handle demonetization and COVID very well, I am pretty sure I can be I can be good with this company अगर आगे जाके इकोनॉमी में और भी कोई प्रॉब्लम्स आए तो. Now look at asset quality. Again, having said that, look at this. Their asset quality did went up during demonetization, but look at that. Right after demonetization, the asset quality improved. COVID में again asset quality worsened, but asset quality किसका खराब नहीं हुआ था in COVID में, right? But then just look at the drastic recovery in asset quality right after COVID. That shows the structural nature and the sustainable nature of the model of Arman Financials. Now again, very simple notes के तरीके से I've written. You can pause the video and you can also read with me. So just basic thing is कि like now we have to look at what the management outlook is saying, because the market always looks forward, correct? The market does not look back. अभी तक हमने back में देखा कि Q4 का numbers कैसे है, पिछले 5 साल का results कैसे है, geographical distribution देखा. So all those things talk about Arman and its history. Now we have to look forward, because if you want to make money in the stock market, you have to see what is the growth outlook that the management is giving, right? What are the branches ka outlook? At what rate can Arman can grow in the future, right? So let's understand what the management said on the con call. See, they are targeting an AUM growth of 35 to 40% in FY24. Now you understood that in FY23, they had operating leverage. Now think about this. If their AUM can grow at 40% and with operating leverage, the PAT growth can be 50 to 70%. right? Now that is the reason why Arman ka stock today is at all-time high, because the market also understands that now with that next financial year there won't be any COVID, right? And आगे जाके interest rates घटने ही वाला है, जैसे RBI has stopped raising rates. So even Arman ka cost of borrowing will also start coming down. That's another point. And so if the cost of borrowing comes down, your NIMs can expand even further, and your ROE can also take a boost. Matlab, already ROE is a high number, and it can take a boost to your PAT and the EPS ka growth number. So if the AUM ka target is 35 to 40%, this is amazing commentary by the management. The credit cost to be around 2 to 2.5%. Now there is one more thing which the Arman management said, okay, don't expect credit cost to be in the 1% range, because see, if you're scaling up a microfinance business, giving out such high, low ticket, high risk loans, right, to so many people, it's fine to have a credit cost in the range of 2 to 3%. Don't worry about that. See, credit cost of HDFC Bank will be less than 1%. Why? Because HDFC Bank deals with a kind of customers who gives them 12-13% yield on their loans. But Arman is giving loans to customers जहाँ पे yield आता है 30-35%. तो यहाँ पे credit cost थोड़ा high होगा तो चलेगा. That's what I'm saying. Like Arman में defaults will be more than HDFC Bank, but Arman also makes more money on one individual borrower than HDFC Bank. Correct? So यहाँ पे it balances out at the end of the day. So that's why Arman का credit cost और even कोई दूसरा microfinance हो या NBFC हो, उनका credit cost is always okay to be on the higher side. You can't say the credit cost of Arman is 2.5 and Kotak Mahindra Bank is 0.5, so I will just buy Kotak Mahindra Bank. Okay, you have to understand. That's why I started with the nature of the business. किन customers को loans दे रहे हैं and the geographical distribution, right? Technology and system in place, complete paperless journey from sourcing, dispersal, connections, right? Of course, then I wrote the AUM and the dispersal number. We have already discussed this. Now, started individual loan book to continue doing business with the high performers in the joint lending group. That's what I said, right? I have already touched upon this point. कि joint lending group में, let's say cattle का business करके, किराना store करके, जो improve कर रहा है, that person should not then look for a high ticket size loan and go to a bank and leave Arman. That's why Arman has also started an individual loan as well, plus the MSME sector. So I think right now the individual loan book of Arman is around 2% of their total book. So 1900 crore ka 2% is like nothing. But going forward, they would want to scale this up to 3, 4, 5, 6% and increase the MSME space. So as a result of which, the joint lending group, microfinance, which is 83% today, will come down to around 60-65% 3, 4, 5 years down the line. So plan to raise more equity after AUM crosses 2500. So Arman is a company that raised equity last year, 2022 ke I guess September mein. And if you look at the price to book of Arman, it's north of 5 or north of 6 tha when they raised equity. So when you can raise equity from the market at a price to book of more than 1, it means the market is also telling you that this is a great financial. You will see the bad financials are the one jiska price to book is less than 1 and they find it very hard to raise money. But if you can raise money, so I'll tell you this, Bajaj Finance raise money at 3 times the book, 4 times the book, 5 times the book. Why? The market is willing to pay, an amount which is a multiple times of book for a good financial. So any financial, when they can raise capital, right? When they can raise capital at a multiple, at a multiple to book, that means the market आपको मुंह पे बता रहा है, ऊपर से बता रहा है कि like this is a great financial. So if they can invest, why don't you, right? So that's the thing. And Arman, now that the book is now at 2000 crore, of course, right, if you want to grow at 30, 40, 50%, right, you will have to constantly raise equity and dilute equity, correct? Dilute equity in the business and raise more equity capital, correct? So that's what Arman ka management says, कि 2000 से जब 2500 हो जाएगा, then we have to again raise equity money. Maybe next time they will raise equity money at 7 times book, but that is absolutely fine, because if you look at the history of Bajaj Finance, they have always raised equity money at high price to book rather than less than book. So now, where is the growth coming from in Arman? Growth supported by newer states like Bihar. Bihar is doing amazingly well for Arman. UP is also doing well and much better than Maharashtra and Gujarat. One more thing that Arman ka management said, like Maharashtra was the state that suffered the most in COVID. Okay, so that's why agar Maharashtra ka abhi to come back ho raha hai. So if once Maharashtra comes back to the pre-COVID level, inka growth rate aur bhi yahan se badhega. Okay, so Namra is basically the microfinance division of Arman. Okay, that's called Namra Financials. So Namra को upgrade किया है by this rating agency called CARE to the highest MFI rating. Now you understand, right? Even a rating agency has given Arman का microfinance division, which is by the way कितना 83% of the book, the highest credit rating. जितना आपको दे सकता है, highest जितना हो सकता है for microfinance, CARE ने वही दे के रखा है. So even CARE is also telling you. So fundraising हो गया, एक रेटिंग एजेंसी भी वही आपको बता रहा है कि हम आपको एक हाईएस्ट रेटिंग दे रहे हैं. प्लस we see why is CARE giving the highest rating? You know, we understand because you see asset quality अच्छा हो रहा है, टेक्नोलॉजी में इन्वेस्टमेंट कर चुके हैं, and of course along with that the profitability and the growth in profitability is immense. So Arman plans to add more customers and branches instead of increasing ticket size. See, this is what I'm trying to say, right? The job is not to keep increasing ticket size. Then you no longer will become a microfinance company, right? Then आप एक बैंक के और जा रहे हो, right? वो हमें नहीं बनना है, मतलब अरमान को नहीं बनना है. What Arman has to do is low ticket size को 30-40 हजार रुपए रखो, 30-40,000 rupees. But you need scale, you need volume. Like I want Arman to मतलब go deeper and deeper in Bihar, deeper and deeper in Haryana, Chhattisgarh, Bengal. जितना deeper हो सकता है जाओ, नया geographies में जाओ. So, and they're also targeting branch expansion at 20% in FY24. So the outlook for FY24 for Arman looks very good. One last thing, why Arman is such a great company, which is, of course, I showed the history of the company as well. They did not lay off or reduce salaries for any employees during COVID. This is an amazing thing, right? I mean, I got that from their annual report as well. Like COVID के time, there are so many financials जिन्होंने लोगों को मतलब छटाई कर दिया था, भगा दिया था, राइट? या सैलरी को रिड्यूस कर दिया था. अरमान ने सबको नॉर्मल हाइक्स भी दिया, right? So this is an amazing institution, but since it's such a low market cap वाला company and it gives you the perception that it's very risky, तो लोग इसके बारे में उतना जानते नहीं है. So now here is the thing. Again, like some more other points here, like the gearing can go up to 5 to 6 times. Gearing का मतलब है debt to equity ratio. So ROE is equal to ROA into debt by equity. Okay. So if let's say, for example, they take more debt. So let's say if I take more and more debt from the market or I dilute more and more equity, तभी तो I'll get more money to lend, correct? So if I'm not diluting equity or if I'm not taking any debt and my gearing is around 1 to 2x, it means what? I will have difficulty to grow my AUM, correct? Because financials are nothing but वही इधर से पैसा लो और उधर पैसे दो and बीच में you make the money in margin. That's the business. So I need my financials to take as much money as possible, both in terms of debt and equity. So Arman can go up to even 6 times. 6 times. So now you understand why the ROE is 30%, north of 30%, because the debt to equity is 6. And if you look at the ROA, it's also like around 5%. So 5 into 6 is 30%. So hisab bhi milta hai, which is the ROE number in FY23. We discussed the Maharashtra wala point. Again, Arman customers are not sensitive to interest rate because Arman gives out loans at 27%, 33%. So who cares if the repo rate has gone up from 4% to 6.5%? So Arman customers ke liye, it doesn't matter. Again, the RBI regulatory change allows the organized MFI players to capture more market share. Now, what has happened here is like there are certain things that the RBI has done. Let's discuss 2 points here. So, say for example, RBI ने क्या किया था? पहले the rule was कि like microfinance institutes can only lend to households जिनका total income is up to 1.5 lakhs in a year. Okay. Now, what has RBI done is they have increased the limit to 3 lakh rupees a year. Household income up to 3 lakh rupees a year को microfinance can target. That means what? Suddenly microfinance का ये loan देने का base बढ़ गया. The base increased. Why? Because the household income का target has increased from 1.5 lakhs to 3 lakhs in a year. That's a great news for Arman. Second thing क्या है? I mean, not only Arman, but all the organized microfinance. Second is के क्या? I mean, how do I say? So say for example, if my monthly income, now again, hear this out properly. If my monthly income is 10,000 rupees, no microfinance company can charge an EMI more than 50% of my monthly income. तो इसको FOIR करके एक सिस्टम है. I'm not like going into all those details. हम यहाँ पे थोड़ी मतलब PhD करने आए हैं. But समझो लॉजिक को. If my income is 10,000 rupees, no microfinance can come and charge me more than 50% of my monthly income. 50% के ऊपर हो ही नहीं सकता है तुम्हारा EMI. Then तुम उसको लोन मत दो, right? So 3 lakhs and 50% of your income. ये दोनों सिस्टम से क्या हुआ है? Now, if a microfinance borrower doesn't have to pay more than, because उसका और भी तो खर्चा है ना लाइफ में. EMI देने के बाद घर का पैसा नहीं है तो तभी तो जाके वो डिफॉल्ट करता है. So this is why to decrease defaults and to lower NPAs in the system, this is what the the RBI has done. So that's a great move, and Arman really appreciates both the moves in the con call mein bola. MSME loans versus MFI loans. Now, since MSME loans are now, as you know, right, Arman will be shifting more and more towards MSMEs, right? So MSME में sourcing is more difficult because you have to give a higher ticket size loan, correct? So वहाँ पे the rejection rate will also be higher, right? Because somebody is trying to set up a new store or something. Let's say, for example, a kirana ka dukaan or whatever it is. So sourcing is more difficult as well, and the rejection rates are also high. Then say, for example, a microfinance loan, जहाँ पे you have 10 people, you have 10 गाँव के औरतें को लाओ और उसको आप 30,000 करके आप 10 लोगों को 3 लाख रुपए लोन दे दो, राइट? सो वहां पे सोर्सिंग and as well as rejection rates भी कम होता है, but यहाँ पे rejection rate ज्यादा होता है. So many people come and ask me like, what is the difference between MSME and MFI loan? This is the answer. So again, like Arman raised equity at a price to book of 5.5 last year ka, which is a great sign for investors in Arman, which we already covered. Okay, so now we move on to the next company, which is MSE Financials. Okay, so MSE Financials, again same strategy में हम देखेंगे. पहले we'll see के like कौन-कौन से geographies में है, what is the size of the loan book, and what is the breakup of the loan book, right? And what are the target customers of MSE. So can you see this again? MSE Financials. MSE Financials ka size is 4 times of Arman. Can you see? It's 8,000 crore. Arman ka size is 2,000 crore. MSE Financials is 8,000 crore. But also having said that, MSE Financials is also in 7 states, like Arman is in 8 states, right? So dimag mein hamesha ye comparison karte rehna. So again, having said that, the first thing that comes to your mind is like, wow, these companies are only in 6, 7, 8 states, right? They can easily expand to 13, 14, 15 states over the next 5 to 10 years. And so there is immense scope to grow, because India is a country with 150 crore people, and with 2,000 crore and 8,000 crore loan book, it's practically nothing, not even a drop in an ocean. So where are the places where MSE Financials lend out money? Pehle ye jaan lete hain. Again, micro enterprise loans and SME loans. These two segments are exactly the first two segments in Arman. Got it? So that is why I covered MSE. I'm covering MSE right after I covered Arman. So micro enterprise loans and the SME loans, right? Low ticket size item to group of people, to a bit of high ticket size item to, let's say, for example, or a working capital item, or let's say, koi salaried employee, but all in the unorganized and the semi-organized space, right? Just like Arman, MSE Financials also catered to the village people, catered to tier 3, 4, 5, 6 ka people. Of course, you can pause the video and you can see कि MSE का कहाँ पे branches ज़्यादा है, right? Again, if you see, just like Arman, MSE also started from Gujarat and now they're expanding to the other states. Again, you can pause the video and you can see micro enterprise loans, SME loans, two-wheeler loans, commercial vehicle and salaried personal loan. So that 8,000 crore का जो loan book है, वहां पे देखिए आप कहां पे majority पैसा है. So MSE Financial is given majority of the loan to micro enterprise loans, right, and to SME loans. Now, what are the kind of loans? You can pause the video and can see, like they give loans up to 3 lakh rupees. So Arman और MSE में difference क्या है? MSE gives out a bit of higher ticket size loans to people compared to Arman. So tenure is also higher because जितना ticket size बढ़ेगा उतना tenure भी बढ़ेगा, right? And of course, with SME loans are nothing but business loans. SMEs are the small corporates in India, manufacturing, dealers and distributors and blah blah. And the tenure is up to 60 months, right? And the average ticket size is around 17 lakhs. Here the average ticket size is around 41,000 rupees, right? So these are the two places where MSE gives out most of its loans. Now, you can see two-wheeler, commercial vehicle and salaried personal loan is something that they started recently, and I think उनका 1 साल भी नहीं हुआ. And commercial vehicle loan was also, I think, 1.5 years, 2 साल से पहले चालू किया. So these are the segments that they will be growing, right? And like Arman, even MSE Financials also say the same thing, right? Two-wheeler का since growth नहीं हो रहा है हमारे country में, two-wheelers के इतना problems है. That is the reason why the two-wheeler का loan book was also not growing at that pace, right? So you can pause the video and you can read the tenure, the loan book ka size, and the average ticket size. Okay, so now just understand. Now we understood the geography, right? We understand which states they were in, and we understood the breakup of the loan book. Now let's see the growth, right? And now when we see the growth, first is we need to see what is the growth of the asset under management. Can you see on a YOY basis, they have grown by almost 30%, which is a good growth in itself. And if you can see the profit after tax, now this is a problem with MSE. So profit after tax ka growth is lower than your AUM ka growth. Matlab, unlike Arman, MSE Financials don't have operating leverage, right? So operating leverage hota hai, so your PAT ka growth should have been higher than your AUM ka growth or your total income ka growth is what am I trying to say. Again, having said that, if you look at the AUM and the differentiator part here, right? I mean, out of this 29%, you can see here the micro enterprise group grew by 19%. Actually, I'm a little disappointed with this number of mass, right? I expected this number to grow at a faster pace, considering, of course, it is the biggest chunk of their book, right? And second is when the microfinance, industry is coming back up, right? And you saw the, Arman ka book ka growth. Of course, I do understand that Arman ka book is like at a much smaller scale than mass, but still I expected this number to be at a 25-26%. But having said that, TK overall is around 30%, not bad. And of course, you can see two-wheeler loans has grown at a 46%, but it doesn't mean the two-wheeler segment is doing very well, but it means because the book is very small. So on a very low base, the growth looks much higher. Okay, so these are basically the places where mass takes out money. Here, can you kindly see here, like your cost of borrowing. Now, again, like just like Arman, mass ka bhi wahi hai, the cost of borrowing is pretty high, around 9.5%, right? Because of course, right, you understand they deal with people in, in the rural areas and the semi-urban regions. And of course, kahan se, what are the sources of fund? Where do mass? Now they don't have CASA franchise, they don't have current account and savings account like bank. So basically what they do is they take term loans from banks, they take debts, they issue bonds, right? And they take, and bonds are nothing but the non-convertible debentures and also direct assignments, including co-lending. What is co-lending and securitization? It's like, say, for example, dono organization. Securitization is basically like you can buy somebody else ka portfolio and you can pay the money. And then of course, wo jo incremental EMI aayega, wo aapke paas aata rahega. That's securitization. What is the second thing about co-lending? Co-lending is, say, for example, banks and NBFCs milke, because NBFCs has geographical scale, right? And banks have large capital, right? So it's like a marriage between capital and scale. You would see IIFL has been taking the most advantage when it comes to this particular arrangement when we cover it. Of course, capital adequacy and all these things are also pretty high. Like, of course, like for an NBFC, okay, I missed out this point. Capital adequacy ka number has to be more than 15%, right? So both for Arman and Mass, the number is way more than 15. For Arman, you can clearly, so for Mass, you can see the capital adequacy is at 25%. That means they are pretty good. Okay, so here is the number here. Again, having said that, they lack operating leverage. As I mentioned, that's probably the only negative thing I have. Asset quality has continued to improve both on a QOQ and a YOY basis. Okay, so that's fine. That's not a problem. And Mass Financials has a subsidiary, which is the Mass Rural Affordable Housing Finance. So they have made a separate management. And of course, can you see here, it's only a 400 crore book. And profit after tax, I mean, this is again a negative. The PAT has gone down on a YOY basis. But again, it's just a 400 crore book and they want to scale it up. And since they wanted more focus in the housing division, so they made it a subsidiary and have put in a separate set of management to take care of that book. Okay, very, very critical for any financials. We have to check the trend of the asset quality. We saw the trend of asset quality for Arman. Now we look at for Mass. Can you see over the period of time, the GNPA and the NNPA numbers are improving, which is a great thing. Okay, management commentary. Now, can you see what the management said? Again, having said that, very, very critical to understand the outlook. Ki company aage kya karne wala hai, because stocks move according to outlook and not only based on historical past. So that's where people make it a mistake when looking at Screener and all that, because Screener won't give you the outlook, right? Here, aapko ek outlook mil raha hai, right? And that is what we study and we try to give it to you. कि आगे 1 साल से 3 साल में, like from 1 to 3 years, what are the companies going to do in the future? उस angle से we have to invest. And then of course we have to check the execution and see whether जो expectation है हमारा based on the outlook and the reality वो एक ही line में जा रहा है कि नहीं. And then of course we can invest more and more if say the outlook say reality और भी better होते जा रहा है. Correct? So that's how investing should be, like active investing. So Mass talks about a 20 to 25% ka growth, correct? And they expect the AUM to touch 10,000 crore in this fiscal only. So 8,000 to 10,000 crore is a 25% ka growth rate. They should be able to do it. Again, company in probably a couple of quarters back have said this, it will be easy for them to grow at this rate, 20 to 25% ka AUM for the next 5 years, right? So it shows, right, with such a small base, it's not that difficult to grow your base. Now, here is where I have a problem with Mass Financials, the ROE number. Now, that's what they said, the ROE number will be between 15 and 18% in FY24. It's because Mass Financials do not raise capital at such a, at an aggressive rate at which Arman was doing. So that's why Mass ka ROE should be between 15 and 18% going forward. So the point is this, right? If your ROE is between 15 and 18%, you cannot grow your book by 30-40%. Arman can't do that because their ROE is at 33% at the end of FY23. That's why they can even grow their book at 35-40%. So, but here if you see, MAS ka book ka growth will be 20-25% because their ROE is a much conservative nature. And if you listen to Kamlesh Gandhi and the MAS ka management, they're a very, very conservative lender, even though they're in this space. So Arman is more like a, a T20 player which can hit sixes and floors. MAS Financial is in the same space, but they are more like a test cricketer type. Okay, so they're more conservative. They more look at asset quality and grow their book structurally instead of getting the ROE to a 20-25%. But kya hoga in a bull market, MAS Financials might not make as much money as Arman Financial because of the ROE ka number. So keep this thing in mind. So, but then having said that, they have always maintained solid asset quality with net NPA to stay below 1%. And see, this is the difference again. Since MAS ka ROE is lesser than Arman, so MAS is more defensive than Arman. That's why Arman can target a credit cost of around 1%. Since I'm sorry, MAS can target a credit cost of around 1%. But jabke Arman, which is way more aggressive, also knows will make a bit more mistakes than MAS. That's how you should look at investments, right? Risk reward, right? So that is why Arman says that their credit cost will be in the range of 2.5%, whereas MAS says, no, we are conservative, we are a good lender, we want to scale up at our own pace, and so we can target the credit cost to be around 1% in FY24. So, but again, having said that, MAS ka NIMs are at 7%. What was Arman ka NIM? 13%. So you can always understand the difference. Like Arman is playing a much riskier game than MAS. Right? So MAS is also looking to double PAT in 3 to 4 years. So if you want to double PAT in 3 to 4 years, that means profit after tax or EPS will grow at 20%. So MAS is also a company that if you're targeting a 15, 20, 25% in your portfolio, like I have MAS in my portfolio and I understand MAS ka mera return expectations will be around 20% going forward, provided the company keeps on delivering what they promise. Okay, so now again, they are targeting 200 branches in 2 years from the current levels of 150. So 150 say 200 branches in 2 years, it's a 16-17% increase in the number of branches. Again, like similar, right? Because if your branches are growing at 16, 17, 18%, then I can believe you saying that, okay, fine, I can grow at 20-25%. But let's say if your branches are not growing, like let's say branches are growing at 2, 3, 4%, I won't believe you when you say I want to grow at 30%. मतलब इतना भी digitization नहीं हो गया है, राइट गांव में कि आप कुछ सब ऑनलाइन ही सब आप कर दोगे. It's a touch and feel model and you need to have branches as well. So MAS slowed down in the COVID years and is now set for 25% growth. There is one more thing, like MAS, if you just read the history about the company, they actually like literally squeezed their loan book during COVID, right? And they ensured they focus more on collection than disbursal during COVID. Now that COVID is gone, Mr. Kamlesh Gandhi talks about growing now. Positive on the salaried personal loan and the home loan portfolio. So again, having said that, like Arman, MAS का भी वही है, like इनका जो नया division है, let's say home loan हो गया, salaried personal हो गया, they're also trying to diversify the book. Okay, so MAS Financial is done. Now let's cover the last company, IIFL Finance. Okay, same funda. IIFL Finance is also like Arman and MAS, catering to a similar geography. So you can just read this. Can you see this? Primary strategy is to tap into the underserved market, driven by expanding by physical strength, physical branches, as well as using technology into collections as well as disbursal. So basically, IIFL Finance catered to a customer base which is very similar to the customer base that Arman and MAS are catering to. Okay, so that's why I've clubbed all these three companies together. So again, first thing, where do IIFL Finance give out their loans? Okay, so if you see the total loan book of IIFL Finance is 65,000 crore. Out of which you see home loan and gold loan are the two biggest divisions where they give out loans. Okay, and you can clearly see the mix also, right? 70% of their loan book, almost 70% is into home and gold loans. Then loan against property is LAP, which is 10%, digital gold loan is 4%, and microfinance is 15%. So I'll give you this. I've been tracking this company for the last 3 years, and the microfinance division was less than 10%, I think, before 2020, when the division was not doing good. But what IIFL Finance has done is they have increased the product mix towards more and more of microfinance, because microfinance ka jab se recovery hua, the product mix has gone from 10% of the book to 15% of the book, which gave a boost to their NIMs and the ROE. And that is why you saw the stock as well of IIFL Finance to give a healthy return over the past 2 to 2.5 years. So again, can you see now? Again, the first is you got the mix. Now you know the kind of customers they cater, and the loan book ka breakup. Now, what is the third thing we need to check? What is the growth of this loan book on a YOY basis? Can you see microfinance grew at a much faster pace than the other part? Of course, you can also come and tell me microfinance has a smaller base, but having said that, utna bhi ye base small nahi hai. So that also shows that microfinance is the space to be going forward, because आज इसी space के ऊपर आप देख रहे हो जितने भी NBFCs है, they're doing good because इनका microfinance में इनका exposure जिनका ज़्यादा है, right? So that's probably one of the, and if you can clearly see even a 25% ka growth on a quarter-on-quarter basis in the microfinance book. But the other thing is, like, if you look at the home loans as well as the gold loans, they have also grown at a faster click at 23 and 28, which is pretty good. So their core AUM ka growth is 29%. So just like MAS ka bhi 29%, 30% tha, IIFL ka bhi 20% tha. Okay, now do you see the portfolio yield here? I mean, if I give out a home loan, what is the interest that I'm making? So can you see here, home loans pe generally IIFL utna return nahi milta hai, right? But if you look at the gold loans, right, this is where the money they make. 17.5, and microfinance 23.8%. So when you increase your product mix more towards microfinance, that is 10% of the mix to 15%, with the incremental loan that you're giving, you're getting a higher yield of 23% instead of, let's say, 10% from home loan. As a result of which, the ROE of IIFL Finance, I think, went up from 10% in FY20 to now, I think, around 20% at the end of FY23. Now, I think you understand why the ROE बढ़ा, because उनके product mix में जो incremental product mix जो बढ़ा microfinance का. I'll give you a good example of, I know that this is not a part of financial, but if you look at the Varun Beverages का ROE बढ़ा, margins बढ़ा कैसे? Because they introduced this product called Sting in their Pepsi का portfolio. So Sting was 0%, Sting था ही नहीं 3 साल पहले, but now Sting is like 10 to 12% of their entire portfolio. And if you sell a bottle of Sting, a 250 ml bottle of Sting and a 250 ml bottle of Pepsi, Sting से आपको ज़्यादा margin, you make higher margin from Sting than you make margins from selling a Pepsi का bottle or a Mountain Dew का bottle. So that is why what happened with the increase in Sting का product mix, company का जो top line बढ़ा, bottom line में they got an operating leverage because of Sting. So a very similar thing, the Sting in the IIFL portfolio is the microfinance book. I hope you guys understand this analogy. If you don't, you can always like reach out to me and we can discuss. Okay, so now you can see this IIFL has a wider reach than MAS and Arman. 1,267 branches, 60,000 crore ka loan book. So if you see, IIFL is 30 times of Arman, and around 8 to 9 times of MSE Financials. So what I tell myself is sometimes is like I can see an Arman and a MAS going to IIFL level in the future. And if they can maintain this kind of profitability metrics, and of course, see, the ROE number cannot be at 40% if the book is 1 lakh crore. I get the point. But having said that, agar ROE number 25% bhi hota hai na Arman ka, when they, let's say, touch 50,000 crore, 35,000, 40,000 crore, and of course, ROE number वैसा रहेगा, and keeping asset quality in check. Of course, asset quality is the holy grail of financials. वो खराब हो गया तो बाकी सब खत्म. ये सब discussion का कोई गुंजाइश ही नहीं है. That's why we have to constantly track our business instead of making a decision. कि I will do SIP only in Arman. No, that doesn't work that way. Now all my focus is now on the Q1 का results. और जितना ये अपना performance को ठीक रखेगा, मैं उतना पैसा डालता रहूंगा in this business, because I understand from a 2,000 crore loan book you can go up to a 60,000 crore loan book, which will be a 30x growth in AUM, 30x in your AUM. Okay, let's come back to IIFL now. Can you see here? IIFL ka, can you see? The AUM has grown up by 26-29%, PAT has grown up by 40%. So that means, unlike MAS, IIFL has operating leverage, right? So which is a positive thing for IIFL and not for MAS. Second is, look at the ROE number. On a quarter-on-quarter, the ROE number has done better. Why? Because of the microfinance division. Because you saw, right, microfinance division, which is a high-yielding division, is now at 15%. A quarter se pehle it was at 14 point something percent. So microfinance as a percentage of total book is going up, because we are now, in a credit up cycle, which is led by microfinance. As a result of which, you can clearly see the ROE number is at 20%, right? And the capital adequacy is at 20%, right? So as I told you, for any NBFC, the capital adequacy number has to be more than 15%, or else your balance sheet is not strong and it doesn't have enough liquidity. Okay. So, and again, of course, the microfinance and gold loan division are growing at an aggressive rate. Again, थोड़ा सा हिस्ट्री जान लेते हैं, एंड इसमें से यू कैन क्लियरली सी राइट कि लाइक this company suffered in COVID, matlab, who did not suffer in COVID? But again, if you look at their asset quality, now their asset quality at the end of FY23 is as good as their asset quality in FY18. So that clearly shows that, you know, COVID and all this demonetization and everything is behind IIFL Finance. Again, cost of borrowing. Can you see the cost of borrowing has also come down? And again, can you see they have also got a rating upgrade by Moody's, right? जैसे केयर ने अरमान का rating बढ़ाया, IIFL का भी. So basically, see, these are the pointers that you add in your thesis, right? And you get an idea that what you're trying to do is correct. Okay, so there is no 1 + 1 2 here, right? So when, let's say, for example, I'm holding a financial, and then I see going forward that financial can raise more equity money. They are getting more and more upgrades by the credit rating agencies, right? The third is if I see the ROE number growing up in the future quarters. These are basically the things that जे आपको बता रहा है कि आपका initial thesis सही जा रहा है, but they can always turn in the future. That's what people mistake. मतलब आज शायद IIFL Finance अच्छा लग रहा है, आगे जाके who knows, there can be a corporate governance fraud, then I have to sell the stock and run away immediately. So that's how active investing is. You cannot fall in love with a business. Only you can do is unemotional way. You have to keep tracking, and as things get better and better, and see, like for example, this Moody's ka upgrade is a validation for me, right? So once I get more and more validation, I can put more and more money in that business. Got it? And I'm talking about my investment capital. So can you see this? All the ratings are matlab, as high as like the highest rating. Okay, now again, bit of notes here. Let's study. So IIFL model, who do they lend to, right? Now we understand, right? They cater to the people in the lower strata, right? Now who do they lend to? They lend to mom and pop stores, one-man professional, self-employed, एंड जहां पे बिजनेस होता है फ्रॉम देयर पर्सनल अकाउंट. मतलब क्या? फिर से कच्चा बिल वाला. ठीक है, यहाँ पे फिर से अगेन सिमिलर टू अगेन अरमान, सिमिलर टू मैस, इनका शहरों के लोगों को दे डोंट गिव आउट लोन्स. फॉर देम SBI एंड HDFC एंड कोटक है. ठीक है. Target customers with salary of less than 30,000 rupees a month in the rural area and less than 50,000 rupees in the urban areas, right? So again, you see the customer base here. Right? So expect AUM again. Now हमें आगे का देखना है, correct? So outlook क्या है? So if you want to make a 25% CAGR in your portfolio in FY24, you need to be with companies जो 20, 25, 30% का outlook दे रहे हैं, correct? So अगर company outlook ही दे रहे हैं कि हम 5% से grow करेंगे, तो how can you expect a 25% by buying that stock जिसका outlook 5% है? Makes no sense, right? So हमें outlook अच्छी चाहिए, results अच्छी चाहिए, और history भी अच्छा चाहिए. So now you see how the checklist is evolving for a financial, right? So going forward, I guess you can do the same exercise for any NBFC in the world, not only in India. So they say that they can grow at 25% in FY24, both AUM and PAT. Asset quality shall continue to improve in coming quarters. So Nirmal Jain का ये वाला dialogue मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा. Nirmal Jain is, by the way, the founder of IIFL, who still runs the company. So he says asset quality और भी improve होगा, and we already have seen that asset quality is at pre-COVID level से better हो गया. So और भी asset quality better होगा का मतलब और भी आपका कंपनी का EPS का growth आएगा. Because with the more and more improving asset quality, you will have to do less and less provision. Less and less provision means more and more profit after tax, means more and more EPS ka growth for us, and that is what we are looking as shareholders. So target getting ROA to the levels of 4%. What is the level of ROA right now for this company? Is 3.3%. So if they take the ROA to 4%, that means I can tell you mota moti the ROE at a gearing ratio of 5 to 5.5, the ROE can even touch 22, 23, 25%, right? I know I might be getting a bit greedy here, but having said that, वो north of 20% में रहेगा. So these are music to my ears जब कोई management con call में ऐसे बातें करता है. Focus more on co-lending than on direct assignments. Direct assignment is basically like you buy or you sell. So basically क्या होता है? Say for example, there's a bank, okay, and a bank has this priority sector lending का needs. Like इतना percentage of my book has to be in priority sector lending. Agri का book खरीदना ही है मुझे. So banks क्या करता है? They buy portfolios from NBFCs. So now the thing is this: if you are constantly selling your book to banks, then you're constantly तुम्हारा yield भी distribute हो रहा है. There are more parties involved here. So generally what this company is saying, IIFL is saying, okay, we will co-lend. We will not sell you the portfolio, but we'll try to build a portfolio with, let's say, an SBI in a tier 4 city, जहाँ पे let's say SBI का reach नहीं है, right? So that makes it's like I'll tell you this. It's like an infrastructure project जिसको हम बोलते हैं HAM. हैम का मतलब क्या है? हैम का मतलब है हाइब्रिड एन्युइटी मॉडल. मतलब गवर्नमेंट और एक प्राइवेट इंफ्रा प्लेयर आके वो प्रोजेक्ट कर रहा है, राइट? इट्स नॉट कि लाइक द गवर्नमेंट सेज के लिए ओके तुम पैसा लाओ, तुम लोन्स लो, तुम कुछ भी करो, रोड बनाओ, फिर हम तुमको पैसा देंगे, right? So that is why you see so many infrastructure companies going out of business in the past, right? So इसीलिए that ham wala project, so I know I'm like correlating, but that's how the world works. Like Sting is the microfinance when it comes to operating leverage, right? Here the ham ka project is nothing but the co-lending का project. जैसे वहां पे गवर्नमेंट और प्राइवेट मिलके कोई सड़क बना रहा है, कोई हाईवे बना रहा है, the same thing is here that an NBFC. So now here is the thing, right? Many people come and ask me कि like banks अगर expand कर रहे हैं तो NBFC नहीं चला जाएगा. Banks को भी पता है कि NBFCs cater to niche customers in niche geographies, right? So कौन वहां जाके ब्रांच खोलेगा और लड़ाई करेगा, correct? Rather than मैं एक NBFC के साथ I'll go get into a co-lending agreement. Again, see this, credit cost is to be around 2%. So that also shows that an IIFL Finance and an Arman is more of risk takers than a mass financial. Because when you say credit cost of 1% in the microfinance space, then you're not expecting your ROE to be north of 30% or 25%. मतलब आप slowly grow करोगे. So if you're buying mass का stock, again, like no recommendations here, right? I'm just talking about companies that I hold and I believe can, double pat in 3 to 4 years, right? So उस तरीके से मैं बता रहा हूं कि if you are buying mass financials, you don't expect mass financials to be as, even though you might say like Q mass financials ka book is much smaller than IIFL, but I do believe with Nirmal Jain and IIFL, they are, even though with a larger book, much larger book, they are still more aggressive than mass financials. So NBFC sector consolidation after the regulations. I hope you guys remember the regulations, the 2 pointers that I talked about when I was discussing Arman. So क्या होता है when, let's say for example, when the regulators come in, so basically regulators have been very strict, and if you always see in our past, regulators have saved banks. Like Yes Bank is saved, but regulators did not saved they did not save DHFL, correct, or ILFS, correct? उनको तो नहीं बचाया, correct? But they saved Yes Bank. But going forwards, regulators को समझ में आया for the country to grow and for the country to become a 5 trillion economy and 10 trillion economy, which the government says, the NBFC space and the MSME space has to grow. Because if you look at our country, more than 70% of employees, right, and 80% of businesses है MSME, right? So मतलब self-employed लोग ज़्यादा है. मतलब टीसीएस और सीटीएस में काम करने वाले कितने लोग हैं हमारे कंट्री में, जबकि हमें लगता है बहुत लोग हैं बिकॉज हम उस दुनिया से आए हुए हैं. सो यू हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल व्हेन यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस. सो दैट इज व्हाई सेक्टर कंसोलिडेशन. सो जितना आरबीआई अपने रेगुलेशंस को तगड़ा करेगा, जितना लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल, अगेन एन एनालॉजी आई एम टेलिंग यू, द मोर एंड मोर सेबी streamlines the whole broking industry, Angel One will continue to capture more and more market share because the local brokers don't even have the capital and the power to scale. So they will go out of business because now unka digitization hai, now unka super app hai, right? So similarly, I actually want to have a company with a small market cap and in a space where it is running in an organized way, where more and more regulations from the regulator will actually help me to capture more market share. So Angel One, same thing is happening in the broking space for me. Arman, Mass Financials, IIFL, the same thing is happening to me in the whole NBFC space. So increased competition from banks in the gold loan space. That's why you would see a Manappuram and Muthoot. I am not covering them because of the same reason. Okay, like banks are getting very aggressive in gold loan. Banks were not that aggressive with gold loans pre-COVID, but COVID के बाद banks understood that gold loan is a very safe way because gold loan में there is hardly defaults, right? You actually have the gold from your customer and then you pay the money, right? So banks getting aggressive on gold loans में क्या हुआ है? State Bank of India can give a gold loan at 7.5%. जबकि let's say Muthoot Finance gives out a gold loan at 22%. Now let's say if there is a State Bank and a Muthoot Finance in the same locality, who will you go to? Right? Will you pay 7% interest or will you pay 23% interest? You will pay. So that's why Muthoot and Manappuram, they have to lower the yield of gold loans. तो अगर आप देखोगे ना, even IIFL का भी yield is at 17%. तो ये वाला portion of the book can come under pressure for IIFL. Because see, going forward, incrementally, if the yield is 12, 13, 14% because of the pressure from banks, because they will give out gold loans at 7, 8, 10%. ICICI Bank of Baroda में आप जाओगे, आपको 10% में gold loan मिल जाएगा. So अगर IIFL के geography में वो है, can they continue lending at 17% is the question. Now IIFL का counter answer यही है that we cater to customers जो और भी मतलब इकोनॉमी के नीचे लेवल का है. मतलब क्या, हम उस जगह में लोन्स देते हैं, गोल्ड लोन, जहां पे बैंक्स का ब्रांच खोल ही नहीं सकता या फिर खोलने में बहुत टाइम लगेगा. बट देन अगेन वो तो एक अलग डिस्कशन बन गया. सो बैंक, बिकॉज बैंक्स का भी ब्रांच धीरे धीरे बढ़ रहा है. सो द रिस्क दैट IIFL Finance that I find is the reduction in the yield and the NIMs. In the NIMs हो सकता है because of the gold loan book. Again, but having said that, now let's come back. The management expects the MFI book to grow at 25 to 35% going forward. Okay, so I think we are done. We have covered all those things. Let me first stop the. Yeah, so I think we are done with this. So I hope you guys got value. So we'll continue. We have so more. I think we have around 12 to 15 more NBFCs to cover. Like CA Grameen hai, Fusion hai, 5-star Finance hai. So we'll take 2 to 3 companies and we'll cover the entire sector. So any doubts you have, please let us know. Like send me a WhatsApp audio, and of course, as you guys like know the drill, I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much.